The classic loop of whittling away at massive pools of hit points until the party is ready for the boss? That's just not the Savage Worlds way. If you try to run this system like a game of attrition, you're just going to get frustrated. Your games will slow to a crawl, and you'll probably cause a few accidental TPKs along the way. The design philosophy is completely different. It's built from the ground up for cinematic action, swingy dice, and momentum over slow burn resource management. The first and maybe the most important shift you need to make is to stop thinking about hit points and start thinking about consequences. In a lot of role-playing games, the main pressure on players is resource depletion. How many spells are left? How many hit points does the fighter have? Savage Worlds tosses out that whole idea. Player characters and major villains are wildcards, and while they can take 3 wounds before being incapacitated, every single wound matters immediately. When a character takes their first wound, they get an immediate -1 penalty to almost everything they do. A second wound makes it -2, and the third is a crippling -3. This is what players call the death spiral, and it completely changes the feel of a fight. There's no such thing as a paper cut from a dragon. Every solid hit has an instant impact. After 3 wounds, you're incapacitated, and any damage after that can be lethal. So what happens if you run it like D&D? If you design a bunch of small, easy fights, you're not just draining a resource, you're potentially stacking debilitating penalties on your players. A fight that should be a breeze can turn into a deadly slog if the party walks in already carrying a wound or 2. As the game master, your job isn't to manage an adventuring day budget. It's to manage momentum. A successful hit doesn't just lower a number. If the damage beats the target's toughness, it inflicts the shaken condition. If you get a raise on the damage roll, you inflict a wound, making that opponent instantly less effective. The loop isn't about a slow grind. It's about creating and using tactical advantages to land one big game-changing blow. Treat combat as a scene-ending event, not just routine filler. Thanks to the swingy nature of the dice and the immediate impact of wounds, any fight can turn deadly on a single roll. A common mistake is to import the idea of trash mobs or random encounters just to fill time between story beats. In a system where a lucky roll with a simple pitchfork can potentially injure a heavily armored knight, there are very few truly safe fights. Using combat as filler is a gamble. It can either feel pointless as the players steamroll through it, or it can derail your whole night if the dice suddenly explode and a key character goes down in a fight that wasn't even supposed to matter. The best approach is to think like a movie director staging a blockbuster action sequence. Combat should happen when the stakes are high and the story demands it. Savage Worlds lends itself beautifully to an episodic TV show style of play. You have your hook, the rising action, a big cinematic climax, and the fallout. More often than not, combat is the climax. It's the final confrontation with the villain or the desperate last stand against a horde. Your prep should reflect this. Instead of planning 6 to 8 medium difficulty encounters, think about planning 1 or 2 truly meaningful, high-stakes set pieces. Think about the environment. What can the heroes use? What makes the location dynamic and interesting? The goal isn't to see if they can survive a marathon. It's to see if they can win a sprint. So if you're not planning a dungeon crawl packed with fights, what do you plan? Focus your prep on scene variety, not just balancing combat encounters. A lot of game masters new to the system feel a bit lost without a string of fights to rely on. They'll ask, how many encounters should I plan before the players need a rest? But that's the wrong question for Savage Worlds. The right question is, what's the most exciting way for the heroes to overcome this challenge? The answer is to lean into all the other awesome systems the game gives you for creating tension and excitement without ever drawing initiative cards. Is the building collapsing while the heroes are trying to grab an artifact? That's a dramatic task. Are they fleeing from a secret society through crowded streets? That's a chase. Are they trying to persuade the city council to fund the militia before the orcs invade? That's a social conflict. These systems are the heart of the gameplay loop between your big combat set pieces. They keep the action moving and the players engaged. Your prep as a game master changes from meticulously balancing monster stats to designing interesting situations. Instead of just putting a monster in a room, you're creating a scenario with a clear goal and multiple ways to succeed or fail. The game becomes a dynamic rhythm of action, investigation, and social maneuvering, all leading up to those thrilling set-piece battles. Stop thinking in terms of rests and start thinking in terms of the Benny economy. In many other games, the entire rhythm of play is dictated by the short rest and the long rest. Players are always doing the math on whether to push forward or to fall back. In Savage Worlds, that rhythm is replaced by something much more immediate and dynamic: bennies. Bennies are tokens representing luck or fate that players can spend to re-roll a failed check, or, more importantly, to soak wounds. When you take a wound, you can spend a benny to make a vigor roll. Success means you negate the wound entirely. It's the main survival mechanic in the game. Here's the catch. If a GM is stingy with bennies, the game can grind to a halt. Players will hoard them, saving them only for those life or death soak rolls. They won't take risks or try awesome cinematic maneuvers. The game loses its furious and fun identity and just feels punishing. The solution is to remember that you, the game master, are the engine of the benny economy. The rules encourage you to award them for great role-playing, clever ideas, or when a player leans into their character's hindrances. A common piece of advice is to be generous, especially early in a session, to get them flowing and encourage players to spend them. A healthy flow of bennies empowers players to be heroic. And don't forget to spend your own bennies. Villains get them too, and using them to reroll an attack or soak a big hit from a player shows everyone that these tokens are meant to be used. The benny economy isn't a side system. It's the game's central dial for pacing and tension. A generous economy creates a heroic pulp action feel. A stingy one creates a gritty survival horror feel. Your control over this flow is one of your most powerful tools. Ultimately, the Savage Worlds gameplay loop changes the Game Master's job from being an accountant for a long attrition war to being the director of a fast-paced cinematic series of exciting scenes. It's a system that really does deliver on its motto: fast, furious, and fun. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Game Master advice. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What was the biggest mindset shift you had to make when you started running Savage Worlds? If you want to learn more about how you should spend your bennies, take a look at this video right here. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay savage.